Hi, I'm Joe Clemente. I'm president of the Tyler Clemente Foundation. My son Tyler came out as a young gay man a couple of days before he went off to begin his freshman term at college. 3 weeks later, he committed suicide. The family then began the Tyler Clemente Foundation so that other parents and other kids wouldn't have to go through the kind of pain that he went through and that we went through. What we do at the foundation is to build infrastructure of support in homes, families, churches, schools, and in the digital world as well.
Yeah.
I talk for a minute about mental health care and stigma. I guess throughout recent history, mental health care has been stigmatized. If you go and seek it, you maybe fear for your job, or maybe you're not going to get promoted, or people are going to talk about you. So I want to talk for a minute about how we might destigmatize mental health care. And I think one of the ways is to make it more ubiquitous. If mental health care was realized by people as being as important as physical health care, I think that stigma would be largely removed. There are a couple ways I think you could do that. Integrating,
Okay.
There are a couple of ways that could be done. Everybody's familiar with going to a physical examination by their doctor every year or two. Medical insurance pays for it. There's no stigma associated with that. So why couldn't mental health care be a part of that annual or biannual visit? I think a lot of times people are reluctant to reach out for somebody to reach out for help because they would be more inclined to fill out a form and say they're having a problem than they would be to reach out to someone in person. So I think that making those kind of things part of the normal business practice for doctors, for institutions, whether they be colleges or even businesses, it would go a long way to destigmatizing mental health. And with that, we have to look at education in general. I think that the educators, administrators, and people that you can go as far as coaches and sports activities might want to be trained in looking at what the signs are and when they need to approach someone, and maybe asking the question, are you feeling okay today? Is there something going on? And this is almost management 101 type stuff, but to a youngster, especially a youngster, and my foundation and our work is based on that 18 to 24-year-old age group, so we're really focused in there. They are reluctant to go and seek help. So to parents making a, let me start again.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing great. You're really good. You're doing great. Really good.
Thank you. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So what I would say to parents of school-age kids, especially those that are making the transition from high school to college, learn about the university. Learn about what they do if the child, if your son or daughter has a problem. What will be the steps that'll be followed? What's available on campus for them? And make them show you what they would do in certain instances. And don't stop until you're satisfied. And for your children, your students, I think that it's important for you to know what's available on your campus as well. But that transition from high school to college, that freshman year, is filled with a lot of things going on, and every college gives you orientation, and you listen to a lot of stuff, and you walk out the door, and maybe you remember 10% of it. But I think it's important for you to build a network of friends or people around you that you feel comfortable with asking a question. Always remember, you can't be expected to know everything that's available to you on campus. There are a lot of colleges out there that have great initiatives already in place, and there's some that not so much. And it's important that you know what's available, but you are not expected to know everything. So you need to ask someone else. Say, oh yeah, I remember we talked about that at orientation. And that puts a thought in your head about seeking help, then that's what you would need to do. And that's what I would say to kids. Take a break.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank you. And to the youngsters, what I'd like to say is, you know, we hear a lot about bullying in society today, digitally or in person. What I would say to you folks is, choose to be an upstander. If you see something that's going on that you know isn't right, if you can't intervene yourself, then tell someone in authority that there's something wrong that's happening. You can make a difference, and you can choose to make a difference by becoming an upstander instead of a bystander.
A survivor of suicide affected your mental health?
Yeah, being a survivor of suicide certainly had an effect on my mental state at the time. And while I didn't think I needed to see anybody during that time, I had a big support system around me and people telling me, you know, you really should go and see somebody. Even though you don't think you need it, the worst that can happen is you waste a couple of hours of your time. And I resisted it for a little while, for no particular reason. I wasn't really concerned with stigma. We had a lot going on at the time. But I took the suggestion of people because I thought if that many people are telling me that I should go, then maybe they're observing something in my behavior that I'm not aware of. So I went. And I only did, I think, one session. And the doctor was satisfied and I was satisfied. And the way we left it was if you ever feel like you need to come back, you know, call me and come back. And so it had an effect, and I appreciate the people around me who told me to go, because I wouldn't have done it on my own.
And you're glad you went?
Yes, in retrospect, you know, I'm not sure what it did for me, if it was helpful to me personally, but let me can you this one? Michael, I want. Ask me again. Ask me again.
Yeah, did you feel it helped to go, the visit?
Yes, I think it was helpful, and it was helpful not only to me, because it gave me an opportunity to get some things off my chest that I wouldn't want to say to maybe to family members or friends, but it also made family members feel more comfortable that I had gone, and that's a part of the healing process for them as well.
Here's a question. You have a foundation, correct?
We do.
Is that your, because I work with a lot of parents who have lost children, and I feel that's your continuation of nurturing your child. Do you feel that keeps that nurturing and care continual? Having the foundation in his, you know, the memory, he's still...
You know, I haven't thought about it in those terms. I think the main driver for me personally, and I only speak for myself, is that it was such a painful event that I don't want it to happen to some other family. And if that in a way is nurturing Tyler, fine. And if it helps prevent someone else from going through what we went through, then I think it's worth it, and I think that that's the reason that we do it, or that I do it. Thank you.
Do we get into the mission statement of your foundation?
I sort of did in the beginning.
Okay, you did, okay, I was probably, okay. Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, experiences you've had, once you started your foundation and talked to people, and people come to you and said, you know, my son or my daughter, you know, did go for some mental health counseling, and what they told you?
Well, some of that, you know, it's not something I would want to put on camera.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is the people who have talked to us about the effect that the foundation's had on them, some of that has been involved with seeking help through professional sources. Some of it's been just talking to family members and having an open discussion about it. And yes, they tell us they were helped. We do get that.
And another question we have is, You live in Bergen County. Can you kind of describe some of the services that you think are available or you've seen that are available in Bergen County?
Well, I think what we're doing right here, I think Bergen County Leads really has an important role in getting the word out and in destigmatizing mental health care and making it more of a commonplace thing, just like medical care is. It's medical care, but it's for your state of mind. And I think that organizations like this one can be on the forefront of that effort.
So what do you, if Bergen County had got a report card on how to address mental health, what would you give them?
I would probably give them a C, because right now I can only think of a couple of organizations specifically in Bergen County that specifically deal with mental health.
What do you,
And I,
And I think that, I don't think people are aware of what's out there either. I don't know who would have the role of publicizing what, where to go for if you're in need.
yeah.
So a lot of the times people don't know that when I research, I find that there is help out there, but do you really know how to look for it when you're in need?
Right. And I think that's very important what you just said about searching for help. How does a person do that if they feel that they need it? Do they know what's available? I mean, there are no big signs that say,
Right.
come here if you feel depressed. But what you can do is, that's why I think it's important that other folks have to be educated and know that these facilities exist, these organizations exist. And why it's important to point people to websites like our website at tylerclemente.org, Bergen Leads, and others. Once you get on those sites, you'll see that there are dozens of organizations, some local, some national, and there's always somebody to call in an immediate situation if you need that. And I think that's important. So it's while the individual is going through the issues may not be aware, I think it's important that people around them
I
are
agree.
aware.
The family.
So who would you call?
I'd go on, who would I call for what reason?
If you felt that your child had needed to address something, or the person themselves felt that way, should they, what mental health group should they talk to? I mean, there's Care Plus, there's Vantage, there's,
It would depend on what I thought the issue was. We do a lot of work with LGBT teens, so naturally, organizations like PFLAG for Family, GLSEN, those organizations come up in my mind. If it's an immediate problem, I would point them to the Trevor Project. Those kind of things. I think it depends on what the issue is or what I thought the issue might be.
and you were talking about one of the goals of the foundation, making mental health services much more, or assessment much more ubiquitous. Was your idea that pediatrician offices have a list, or that they have someone on staff or someone who comes in to do an evaluation? That you're kind of an annual, or what?
Well, I think that an annual or biannual mental health assessment could be combined with a pediatrician visit, whether or not it's something that a questionnaire that somebody fills out and checks a box on a form, and if that triggers a response, then a referral could be made. And it also could work the same way, and some colleges already institute this. They have questionnaires for entering freshmen. Did you ever feel depressed? And someone who isn't likely to ask for help in person might feel much more comfortable about checking a box, but then it's up to the people who review those forms to follow up on that and to point them in that direction.
I'm going to suggest, though, that there are plenty of people who would look at that form, and when they were asked that question, they're not aware enough of what's going on with them to even check off that box. So I guess my question is whether there needs to be someone who can have a conversation with each individual out there to kind of find out. Sometimes it's that kind of human touch, and I'm wondering whether a questionnaire really does it.
Well, I think that's a place to start, because I think you will catch a percentage of people that would, but certainly some people will know how to answer the questions and avoid
Correct.
that reaction.
Because there's a stigma.
So if you don't have that, how would you know? I mean, you wouldn't know, unless you made an observation, unless you were trained.
Right.
So I think it's a couple of components. Questionnaires and screening tools are great, but I think administrators, educators, if it's in colleges, RAs, who, you have maybe a 21-year-old that's kind of supervising an 18-year-old.
Right.
These folks have to be educated to look for warning signs. And even if they can't resolve the issue, they can bring it up the line. And that's part of what I think you termed as that human touch and what needs to be done.
Right.
It's a